Ok, Beta. Bonne nuit, merci. À plus tard, ouais. Il parle trop vite le mec, j'entends rien.
Maybe even more. So not only that, you have increased accuracy when you're throwing grenades in this mode. In addition, anything that does drop on you, like a grenade or something like that, yeah, you're not gonna die. It will kill you, but you're not gonna get out of the way. If you don't see that coming, you're not gonna get away in time anyway. So don't worry.
Je peux pas comprendre ce qu'il dit.
So that's it. All I got for the shooting. What I want to talk to you now is about some automatic
Bah tant
rifles,
pis, hein, sinon
like
on
the
va
machine
juste,
gun, the submachine gun, and sword rifles.
farmer.
When you shoot
Ah,
those,
ça y est.
shoot those in small bursts. Okay. A lot of people just hold down the button and waste their clip. The longer you're shooting, the worse your accuracy becomes. So shoot 3 bullets at a time. Wait a second, shoot 3 more bullets, wait a second, you'll be much more accurate and it allows you to adjust your fire accordingly. In addition, when you're firing the heavy machine gun, definitely don't unload the whole thing. 5 shots at a time, rest, 5 shots at a time, rest. You'll be much more accurate and you won't go through all your ammo at one time. Now that brings me to the other weapons in this game, like the mortars and the RPGs and the howitzers. They're very important, but don't use them on the wrong things. A howitzer should never be used to kill people. It should be used to kill structures. An RPG should never be used on people or structures. An RPG should only be used on vehicles. Okay? Same thing with mortars. Mortars are great for people because you can fire them pretty quickly, but only use them on a group of people. So like if you saw all these people in here standing in the box, drop a mortar right in front of it or right on top of it. You'll kill everybody. Okay, so that brings me to the next thing. Oh, so the other thing with mortars, they're really good for destroying the structures that you see around us right here, like the foxhole and the pillbox. That brings me to the next point. When you're fighting the enemy, if you're bunched together, you're a terrible target for grenades, high explosives, a lucky mortar shot, or anything like that. You definitely want to keep up away from your friends. Try and maintain about 5 meters. So about 4 to 5 body lengths of a character. Try and keep that distance between one another. So if one grenade or one mortar does hit you, it only kills you and not everyone around you, or it kills your buddy and not you. That said, on top of that, make sure that if you do start receiving mortar rounds, don't just stand there. If you hear a mortar fired, and you'll learn what the sound sounds like. If you hear a mortar fired, scatter. Like someone turned on the light in a room full of cockroaches. Just start scattering, because chances are they pinpointed you and they're going to hit you, and you got about 3 to 5 seconds before that thing comes in and lands on top of you. Okay, so just scatter a little bit, get back down, figure out what's going on, figure out where it came from, and start trying to engage that guy. So that's pretty much all I have for actual combat and stuff like that. So I'm going to let Dark tell you about some of these structures and how to actually defeat these structures, like the pillbox and the foxhole in front of you. Go ahead, Dark. I don't think he hears me.
T'as vu, c'est le deuxième lieutenant.
Just grabbing some smoke. Just grabbing some smoke out the town hall. Looking at most of you know how to drag a weapon out the town hall, because you're all using, looks like most of your sporting rifles. Everything in the game comes out the same way. So if you approach
c'est très haut gradé. Il est plus haut gradé que nous tous.
You have got a pillbox, 2 pillboxes in front of you. There's 2 ways you can neutralize these. One is...
Attends.
Don't get in front of him. Don't
get
stand back, guys. Guys, stand back. Stand back.
It'll bounce off your back of your head.
Right. One is by popping a smoke grenade.
Regarde, il montre comment on
Wait for the
détruit.
grenade to disappear. That's when the smoke's active. So now, pop over, lob a few frag grenades, HE grenades at it, and then get back if the smoke's disappeared before you can do it. Repeat until it's destroyed. That's with those type, which is on the right, which is a foxhole. On the left, you have a pillbox. If you can do the same thing by throwing a smoke grenade, and you can get to the side like I am now, there is a very simple way to neutralize these.
Ah lol.
All you gotta do is pop a sandbag in front of it like that.
You got to be quick about it. So there's a bug. If you hit the B button and you're in that menu to build, you can't talk at the same time.
So there you go. Whoop. Now I'm stuck in it.
T'as vu, Rémi? Il a mis en fait des sacs de sable devant pour le couvrir. Du coup, il se prend pas de tir.
Now there's your pillbox. You'd obviously
Non, non.
finish it so it looks like the sandbags like all on the rest of you.
Mais ça annule le bâtiment.
And it can't shoot. While it's in that mode, if you do in front of it, it will take 1 shot to destroy it from that pillbox in current mode. You have to finish it before you guys run in front, otherwise it will blow it up. The next structure is razor wire. You don't ever want to get stuck in this, because look, if I run into this now, I am pushing to come back towards you. Now, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting.
By the time that is, you're dead.
And then, there you go, I'm finally out. It took me at least 30 seconds, and I only ran halfway in. The easiest way to circumvent these is you either run around the edge, I missed it, if you're lucky, or the quickest way is if you've got a group of buddies, one of you crouch down with a wrench and just dismantle it. Clearly to easily dismantle it, and you can then all just run through. The easiest way is if there's room like here, you run around the edge of it and go down the back of it. The other one is fences. Now when you build a fence, a lot of people build them the wrong way round because there's an arrow on them. The arrow goes towards the enemy. This is... in most games you won't see this used because people only upgrade it to the level 2 wall. It only comes into practice when you upgrade the wall to a level 4 wall, which is a pillbox like the Normandy landings. And if that arrow is pointing towards us now, the pillbox will be facing us, so when the enemy attack, they can get in your pillbox and then shoot you. Yeah? Any questions on any of that?
Ouais, donc on doit mettre
All
la
right, with
flèche
that
vers
said, that's
l'ennemi.
pretty much it about structures.
Ouais, ça m'intéresse ça, parce que ça, j'arrive pas à le faire.
Okay.
There's
This
we
is a-
do.
ranked.
We do.
This is a CV. Most of the buildings in your build menu can be built by a hammer. There's a couple of buildings that you have to use a CV. This obviously isn't finished. The right hand side so is the crane. The side with the crane, and there's a building side. The left hand side is the driving seat. If you look behind you now, there's a real one driving past. That's what it looks like when you finished it and put 100 blueprints into it. Any questions on anything to do with the buildings or anything like that?
Okay, so with all that, I've got one last thing to teach you about, and that's what this game's really about. In these matches, some of them last as little as 6 hours. I've seen one in about 3 hours. The majority of them last 10, 12, 14, 20, 60, 200-hour long maps where people are fighting each other day after day, real life, day after day after day. So keep that in mind. Think about that. If you're running around doing your own little thing, how much impact are you actually making? Because this isn't a 30 or 40-minute battlefield map. It's hours or days long. That said, the actual casualty count on the last map we did that lasted 14 hours, our side lost 1,100 and I think 20 some odd people. So our players died 1,120 some odd times. There were 850 people actually joined the server throughout the course of the match. The enemy team, they had almost 3,400 casualties during the entire match. So think about that. Your 1 to 30 KD ratio that you have in a battlefield game might be awesome, but your 1:30 KD ratio, if you've only played for an hour, is a drop in the bucket compared to the number of people that were killed and killed other people in this game. It doesn't accomplish anything. So you will not, as an infantry guy, be able to do jack by yourself unless you're trying to get to somebody and get somewhere. So work together, work as a team, find a leader, find someone who's trying to educate you and lead you, follow them, and go do awesome stuff. Also,
Attends, il va
there's
finir et
something
je
that
te
we've
dis quoi
developed
après.
a system on some of these maps, and I think this is something the devs actually intended. It's called Quartermaster. The Quartermaster is the only person that should ever craft a crate in a factory, and this is why. Whenever someone crafts something in a factory, it goes into a queue. Every other person that tries to craft it in that factory that queue is now longer and longer and longer. It doesn't make it for you until everything in front of you is done. Not only that, it doesn't even make you the weapon. It makes you a giant crate that's got to get shipped to an outpost, which we call FOBs, forward operating base, or a town hall. So it's really useless to you unless you have a system of truck drivers that can take it to where it goes. So always when you join a map, before you start doing anything, it's a good idea to ask who the quartermaster is for that map. So like today, someone just asked just now who's the quartermaster, and someone says Shadowplay is QM for this game. So if you ever need materials at a base, you do like the @ symbol, QM, and you say we need, you know, basic rifles and rifle ammunition at whatever base you're at, and he will get that to you. It might take 10 minutes, it might take 15 minutes, but it'll get to you because he's got to craft it and he's got to get a truck driver to deliver it. Okay? Now, trust me, don't give the QM a lot of flack, because let me tell you something. I've done it 26 times in a row before I finally taught other people how to do it. It is the most miserable job in the world on these games, because you spend 90% of your time fighting your own teammates that don't know what to do, and 10% of your time trying to recruit truck drivers who don't want to drive trucks to deliver stuff for you. So whoever your quartermaster is, if he's doing a good job, give that guy upvotes, because it's terrible. The other thing is, this game's about, like I said, it's about teamwork, right? So if you've got a quartermaster and truck drivers, you see all these trucks driving back and forth, they're already working for the quartermaster, gathering and delivering and doing stuff like that, okay? So think about that. That's already a system in place. So they're getting stuff to the front line. You probably have 1 or 2 people in charge of groups on the front line working together. You got combat engineers that are building these structures. So let that sink in. The amount of teamwork that actually has to go together in this game for your team to win is freaking incredible. You're talking about 40, 50, 60 people on a team working together. Every person that's not on that team working with the team is basically a person who's not playing the game. He might as well be AFK in a corner or doing anything. So when you get griefers, and it does happen, when you get griefers, work together to kick that guy. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to take care of that. If you go ahead and hit F1, here's your list of all the players in the game. You've got your rank and your name and all that stuff. You see how many players are in the map. You see how many commands available you have, and then you see the player list. In the player list, you can whisper other players. You can commend them by giving them an upvote. You can reprimand them if they're griefing by giving them a downvote, or if they're really griefing and they're intentionally killing everybody around you, you can kick them, and you can do an @team, please kick this guy, this is what he's doing, and if your team's working together, you'll see that guy kicked pretty quick. Now, I do have one more thing to say, and it is my last thing, I promise. It's about conservation of equipment. A lot of people just grab 5 magazines and a rifle and run out into the battle and die. And they've got like 6 grenades and some smoke and a gas mask on them or something like that. Don't do that. If you just died and you know you can get to your body, just run out there with a pistol. Just run out there with a pistol, get to your body, get your stuff. If you can't get to your body, grab a basic rifle and some stuff and see if you can before you just try and gear up totally again. Shirts are a lot cheaper than all the equipment you're taking out of the town hall. We can always make more shirts. You know, it takes a lot longer to make everything else that you're taking out than the shirts do. And the other thing I want to talk about, not just conservation equipment and the bare minimum that you need, okay? Not the bare minimum you need to go into battle, but recover the enemy's equipment, okay? If you're winning a battle, you're pushing the enemy backwards. So what happened to all the enemy you killed? Their bodies are right there. These backpacks that are on our backs are laying on the ground. Loot that stuff. Check if you're not actually receiving fire and being attacked, go around and check that. You're going to find grenades, gas grenades, smoke, ammunition. You might even find weapons and technology that we don't have on our team yet. Get that stuff, and if you find you have too much of it, get back to base and put that back in the base and click the submit to stockpile to get that stuff back in base. George, I already mentioned that about commending your logisticians and your quartermaster and drivers and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it about the conservation of equipment, recovery of equipment, get it back to base. Don't waste that stuff, especially anything you can steal from the enemy. That's stuff that they're crafters, they're gatherers, they're truck drivers, literally just delivered to you. Think about that. The 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes it took that stuff to get to the battlefield, and you just stole it in 2 minutes. That's awesome stuff. make use of that. I think that's pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any other questions?
One more thing is roles within the game. There is 2 or 3 main roles within the game. Logistics can be split into gatherers and transporters. Transporters, as on the tin, you grab a truck, you take stuff where it needs to be. One thing I will suggest is if you are taking a truck to the front line, please don't lock it, leave it open so somebody else can use. The enemy can just open it anyway with a wrench. So if you're jumping in a truck and just driving to the front line to get to the front line because you need to get back there quick because you forgot to set your spawn, fine, take a truck, but don't lock it because someone's then got to go around and find a wrench to unlock them all. And it's really annoying. The other thing is you have your gatherers. You'll go around the map at some point and you'll see people just sitting there hammering a rock, or hammering a tank scrap, or hammering a lump of sulfur. They're actually gathering all the components required to make your guns. If you see them doing that and they have a massive, massive box of stuff, please throw them a comment, because without it, if you're frontline gamers, you wouldn't be able to play the game with the weapons you've got because you'd end up running out of crystals by the end of it. The only other, and then obviously the last role is the frontline role. Now, every role in this game is important as all the rest. Without the front line, all the logistic drivers would get killed, and without the logistic drivers and the logistics team, none of you guys at the front would have anything but pistols. So as it is a vital team game, you both have to work together. No one is better than the one or the other. Something I did miss when we were doing the building though is the tunnel system. One thing I would mention is if you want to do building, go and find a builder. Alusha is one of our good builders in our team. He'll probably go out to a front line shortly to go and build. If you want to tag on and learn, he's prime person to learn from. Myself and Adrian will probably go out to a front line. If you find us, you can come out to a front line. If you want to do driving and quartermastering, head left when you leave this pit and go and speak to the quartermaster in the pen down the road. Any questions? Or Adrian, have you got anything else to add, or Twisted, or Alusha?
I think that's it. I think we held them long enough. I'm pretty sure these guys are eager to get to the battle and win this match. Unfortunately, unless you just woke up, this will be a 12 to 14-hour match at minimum, probably. Maybe a little bit less. We might get lucky. I think we won the last one in 12 and a half, 13 hours.
Yeah, we are losing the vehicle factory because everyone's AFK.
So yeah. So get out there, have fun, cooperate, teamwork. Constantly think about how you're contributing to your team. Hold on 1 second. Twisted's got something.
My truck slipped out there.
If you do want to give Adrian a follow, you can follow him on YouTube at FOE Adrian, or you can go on Twitch, which is Twisted_Torment.